Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording is posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Crystal Jimerson.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Discovering Manufacturing Workforce Diversity, How Jobs Have Gone from Blue to New Collar. My name is Crystal Jimerson, and I'm a training specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for the Exploring the Diversity of the Census Bureau Data webinar series. This new series, created by the Census Academy team here at the Census Bureau, is meant to assist the novice to intermediate data user. These webinars are a great opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access the Census Bureau data, tools, and resources. If you wish to follow along, take a moment now to open an additional browser. You can register for any of the webinars by visiting census.gov/academy. Before I introduce today's speakers, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar within 30 business days. We welcome written questions during the webinar. Please submit your written questions using the Q&A panel, which is located at the bottom center or the right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you've found the Q&A panel, make sure you choose All Panelists from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. We suggest keeping the chat panel open as we will provide key links and other resources throughout the webinar. Keep in mind, you won't be able to respond to the chat. That is for us to send out links and other resources related to the presentation. My colleagues, Amy and Matt, will be monitoring the Q&A panel. As time allows, we will answer your questions directly through the Q&A panel, or we will share your question with the presenters to respond to during the webinar. If we do not get to all of the questions with the response during the webinar, we will post the questions and responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov/academy site within 30 business days. As you know, we are in a virtual environment and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you are having issues, try a different browser, such as Chrome, or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you are having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers, Earlene Dow and Nicole McKenzie. Thanks again for being here today. Nicole, you may begin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole McKenzie. Just a little background on me. I started with the Census Bureau in 2019. I was a partnership specialist working as part of the 2020 decennial census. Since then, I've transitioned over to the Data Dissemination and Training branch, and I provide training on our data access and our data tools to customers in New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Before working for the Census Bureau, I co-owned a company and we wrote grants and managed grants for all different types of entities, including nonprofit organizations, governmental institutions, colleges. And I can tell you that I always say this and it's true, if I had known then what I know now about the great data that the Census Bureau has, I would have been able to probably win more grants. So I hope you enjoy our presentation today and you get to know about our data. Earlene, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so hi everyone. Thanks, Nicole. My name is Earlene and I've been training and promoting the longitudinal employer household dynamics data products for over 14 years. So I'm just really glad and excited to be here to show you how you can use our tools in everyday life.
Thanks, Arlene. Before we start, I mentioned the data dissemination and training branch. Just to let you know a little bit more about that branch, we bring our data experts to you. So we love to provide training on our data and how to access it to organizations, to members of the public. So if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to me or to Arlene. There are 30 data dissemination specialists located throughout the country. So if you're not in one of the states that I mentioned, there is a data dissemination specialist that covers your area. So let us know. We'd be more than happy to reach out and provide training for you. It's all free. Also, another way to learn about accessing Census Bureau data is through our Census Academy. The location is right here on the screen. You can go here. You can find courses on anything data, census data, and how to access it. We have webinars such as the webinar we're doing today. We also put up webinars that are recorded that we've done in the past. So you can search and find webinars on many of our data tools and topics. One of my favorite parts of the Census Academy is our data gems. These are great if you don't have a lot of time. Maybe you have 5 minutes. You can find great information in our data gems. They're little how-to videos on getting quick and easy access to increase your knowledge on census data. So I would invite you all to visit that site and kind of look and see what we have there. The outline for today, we're going to talk about a little bit about
Nicole,
the Census Bureau.
we cannot see your presentation.
Our LEHD data tools, which is what we're going to explore today. And LEHD is one of our acronyms for longitudinal.
Would you like
employer
Arlene to
household
share?
dynamics.
Attendees cannot
We have a lot
see
of
it.
acronyms. So,
Okay,
hopefully
Arlene, can
we
you
spell them
share?
out for
I
you.
don't know.
We're
why it's
also,
not.
this
I'm
is a
gonna-
scenario-based
sorry about that.
webinar, which we're going
need
to
see it.
help
Um,
a
Arlene,
character
can you
named
advance
Chloe
the screen?
explore career decisions in
I'm
manufacturing.
on the outline.
Well, it's
We will
not-
then
it's not showing it
follow
out,
in
so
this with
do you
live
have it
demos
on your
throughout
desktop?
on the Post-Secondary Employment Outcomes Explorer or
Is it up?
PSEO.
I'm
We'll
sorry.
do a
Is it
demo on
uploaded?
Veterans
You didn't see
Employment
any of that?
Outcomes Explorer.
I did upload
VEO,
it.
the Job-to-Job Flows Explorer, and the Quarterly Workforce Indicators. So you're going to get 3 pretty
Hang on,
quick
I'm just
demos
gonna-
on.
Well,
Did it
okay, the
go?
audience is
or
saying that
4
they
pretty
can
quick
see it.
demos
I would say
on
go
our
ahead.
LEHD
They can
tools.
see it? Okay.
All right. I think it
So
was
when
the
we
Census
changed the
Bureau. We're
layout,
part of the
the
Department of
layout
Commerce.
changed.
And we are
I'm
the
wondering
federal
if I
government's
can
largest
advance it now.
statistical
Oh, yes, I can.
agency.
Hold on. Sorry about this.
Many people ask me,
all right.
you know, what
If the
do you
audience
do
can
in the
see
other
it,
9
we're good.
years when you're not conducting a
so
decennial census? We're going to Because start with the many people presentation know after
us
we
when
get
we're out
through our
conducting
glitches. A decennial census, such as in the 2020 census. What we're doing is we're actually conducting more than 130 censuses and surveys every year. So it's not just that decennial, it's 130 different censuses and surveys we conduct for ourselves, and we also conduct census surveys for other governmental agencies as well. We have over 50 online applications and tools on our site that helps you access our data. As I mentioned, we're going to demonstrate 4 of them today. So there are many more, and go into Census Academy, you can learn about those others. Census data is so important in so many ways, helping different organizations analyze their community and plan, but it also is an informant to help disperse federal funding. So you can see on the slide here, $2.8 trillion in federal funding was distributed based in whole or in part on census data. So it's really important data. And we are proud that our mission is to serve as the leading source of quality data about America's people and its economy. I'm going to turn it over to Arlene now. She's going to talk about our LEHD program.
Great. Well, thanks, Nicole. And I will begin with a quick overview about the LEHD program and partnership, along with the LEHD data products. You will find that sometimes the data is referred to as LEHD or LED. The LEHD program is where the products are developed and housed within the Census Bureau, while LED, which stands for the Local Employment Dynamics, is the partnership from where the data comes. LED is a federal partnership where states send their unemployment insurance wage records and their quarterly census of employment and wages data, which is then combined with censuses and surveys to create this dynamic information on workers to produce public use data products as well as microdata for research. The map to the right shows our active state partners in blue. Some states go all the way back to the 1990s, and though we have some states fall out, we still have data from them when they were participating. I can tell you that Arkansas is in the process of rejoining the partnership. LEHD has 3 data sets, 2 experimental data sets, and 7 data tools. Each data tool is unique in its own way. I like this table because you can see the best way to access the products. If you are curious about employment, hires, separations, turnovers, and earnings, you would look at the Quarterly Workforce Indicators, or QWI, utilizing the QWI Explorer, the LED Extraction Tool, or Census API. If you want to look at employment for detailed and customized geography, you would look at the LEHD Origin Destination Employment Statistics, or LOADS data, using the On the Map or On the Map for Emergency Management data tools, and coming later this year in the LED Extraction tool. If you want to look at statistics on job mobility across the state boundaries or industries, transitions between jobs by timing and firm or worker characteristics, or earning changes due to job changes, you would use our job-to-job or J2J flows data using the J2J Explorer and now in our LED Extraction tool. One of our newer data sets is the Post-Secondary Employment Outcomes, or PSEO. This experimental data set reports earnings by institution, degree field, degree level, and graduation cohort for 1, 5, and 10 years after graduation, and is accessible through the PSEO Explorer and Census API. Finally, we have another experimental data set called the Veterans Employment Outcomes, or VEO. This experimental data set reports earnings and employment outcomes for U.S. Army veterans 1 and 5, 10 years after discharge by military occupation rank, demographics, industry, and geography of employment. This is accessible through our VEO Explorer. In addition to data tools, as I mentioned earlier, raw data downloads are available along with the LEHD microdata for approved projects through our secure census research data centers. So today we are going to cover 4 of the 5 data sets: PSEO, VEO, QWI, and J2J. The best way to access these data tools is to go to lehd.ces.census.gov. Now I'll toss it back to Nicole to talk about our high school senior Chloe and how PSEO and VEO can be beneficial in making the right choices after high school.
Thank you, Arlene. Was going to be a quiz at the end on acronyms. So here's Chloe. 'Tis the season, right? Everybody's dealing with graduation. So Chloe is a graduating high school senior, and she wants to look at these LEHD tools to help her explore a career in manufacturing. So let's see if we can look at some of these tools and help Chloe learn a little bit more about what she could expect. But first of all, why manufacturing? Well, Chloe knows that the jobs in manufacturing have gone from blue to new. They're not Chloe's grandfather's manufacturing jobs anymore. Many people, when they think manufacturing, sometimes they think of old manufacturing jobs from decades ago. They think dark, dirty, manual jobs, sometimes dangerous jobs. Well, manufacturing, it has changed. It's changed a lot over the decades, and the jobs require skills now needed to operate highly automated equipment. So if you go into a manufacturing environment now, and I've been into several actually, and sometimes you feel like you're in a clean room or you're in a hospital. There's computers everywhere. The equipment is automated. The environments are safer. A lot of that old equipment is not there. They have robotics. So it's a very different environment. And that's something that Chloe is very interested in. she also knows that it's a high growth projection. There are high growth projections within manufacturing, and a lot of the high growth, you see here, I have reshoring and aging. Well, reshoring, a lot of manufacturing jobs, many had left the U.S., but they're coming back now. So there's that reshoring. If you think of the electronic components industry, that we had a shortage of electronic components. Well, a lot of those jobs are now coming back, so it's creating higher growth within manufacturing. That combined with the aging of the population, so many people who work within manufacturing are aging and they're looking at retiring. So the industry is growing. There's more jobs that are opening. In fact, there was a study that was done that the Manufacturing Institute released that said there would be 4 million jobs in manufacturing needed by 2030. That's a lot of jobs. In that same report, they were talking about 2.1 million are expected to go unfilled if we don't inspire more people to look at these manufacturing careers. So Chloe is aware of this, and this is one of the reasons. These are some of the reasons she's chosen manufacturing. Manufacturing needs that diverse workforce. And you can see one of the facts I have on here is that 47% of the American workforce is made up of women, but only 30% work in manufacturing. So she feels it's a great avenue for her. It also pays high wages and benefits. And you know, what high school senior graduating isn't interested in, you know, where they can make the big bucks and they're probably not interested in benefits yet, but they will be. So high wages and benefits, just to talk a little bit about that. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2022, manufacturing workers in the United States earned on average $98,846, including pay and benefits. Now, when you compare that to workers in all private non-farm industries, it's a $15,000 difference, because the other average of non-manufacturing is $83,990 per year on average. So manufacturing as a whole looks to be paying almost $15,000 in annual earnings more than the average. Also, regarding benefits, it's been reported that 93% of manufacturing employees were eligible for health insurance benefits in 2023. That compares to only 79% average for all other firms. So they're good jobs, high paying, they offer benefits. Chloe's very interested in that. They also offer a variety of career and industry sector options. So when you go into manufacturing, there are many careers within manufacturing. So Chloe could look at management. Manufacturing companies need management. They need production. She could look at production, engineering, design, promotion. So there's many different careers. And then you have different industry sectors. She could look at the automotive industry. Maybe she's interested in cars and automobiles. She could look at pharmaceuticals, electronics. So there's a variety of options that she can look at within that manufacturing sector. The other thing that Chloe likes about manufacturing is she can see the outcome of her work. So when you're working in manufacturing, you're creating something tangible, something you can touch, something you can see, something you can use. So she would be making something or being a part of something that helps people in everyday life. For instance, she could work for a medical device company that's, you know, helping her grandfather or her grandparents or anybody. The automotive industry, she could work in that, electronics. She's thinking of actually going to school in Texas. Well, in Texas, in Austin, they make Yeti coolers. So Chloe's thinking, how cool would that be if I work for a company like Yeti, and when I have that cooler, I was a part of making that. So she really likes that aspect of manufacturing, that you can see that outcome of your work. And then lastly, it builds on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math studies, which Chloe did a lot of in school. So the manufacturing industry, because it is highly automotive and it's transforming, the industry is attracting STEM graduates with STEM studies, because they need those skills to program and operate some of that complex machinery that they have, or conduct research and development. It's all about researching, developing new products. So She feels that all of these factors go into her decision of why she wants to go into the manufacturing industry. So I think she has her industry. Now she is going to look at the post-secondary employment outcomes visualization tool, because Chloe wants to know what major should she look at to expect earnings, and what could she expect for earnings in manufacturing. So this PSEO tool that we have is going to provide, as Erlene had said earlier, it'll provide information on graduate earnings and employment outcomes. She can look at degrees and degree majors, and it will actually let her look at a specific institution and the state of the institution. Chloe, because I mentioned she's interested in the University of Texas at Austin, she wants to know what degree program there would be the most lucrative. So she's going to explore that. Before we get into the exploration of the tool, I wanted to pull up this map. It shows you the states that we have where institutions are in PSEO. So there are about 825 institutions that are part of PSEO in 27 states. You can look at this map. You can see Illinois is in yellow. That's the next state being loaded. We have more states that are coming on board, but it takes time because as we mentioned, it's part of a data sharing agreement. The states, we're hoping it would be really nice if at one point we had all of the states on, but this is what we have now. So she's going to Texas. As you can see, Texas was one of the first states that came on board, and they have actually over 75% graduate coverage. So those darker states here, we have coverage for a lot of the universities and the colleges and institutions within those states. So new data will be released in June. So this will be refreshed at that point. So now we're going to go into a PSEO demo. So let me share. Okay. So this is the landing site. There was a slide that showed it earlier. It's our Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics, or LEHD landing site. And if you can see, there's information here. You can get more information on it. Orlean had gone over a lot of the individual information on the different tools in this site. But over to the left, there's a direct link to the tools that we're demoing today, but also to some of the other tools that are part of this LEHD program. So I'm clicking on this PSEO Explorer. And what that will do, it loads up the PSEO tool. So when you first pull it up, it defaults, it has Colorado and all partner institutions in Colorado. Well, Chloe is actually looking at Texas. So we need to change the state from Colorado. You can scroll down to Texas. It has all those states that we have institutions in. And then we want to look at the University of Texas at Austin. I could scroll down through all of these different schools in Texas. Remember, I mentioned we had over 75% coverage. There's a lot of schools. So I am going to just type in Austin, and it lets me see that there's the University of Texas. So here are some numbers. However, if you look here, the default is business management, marketing, and social sciences. Well, yeah, she could do business management, marketing. Some of those positions are you would find some of those jobs in manufacturing, but Chloe's really interested in biological and biomedical sciences. I'm going to close out the business and close out social sciences. If you just click on it, it will remove them or add them. So I'm removing those other two. I've added biological, and then she's looking at engineering as well. So she's going to click on those, and real quickly, she sees that graduates from the University of Texas who were in these two areas of study, these are the earnings they made. So it shows you real quick, 1 year post-grad, and then it shows you the middle blue is 5 years post-grad, and then the darker blue is 10 years post-grad. So she can see visually right out of the gate that, engineering really seems to be the area that's going to earn her the most money when she graduates. And those were the kind of the two areas she was thinking of. So Chloe is going to decide on engineering. So she's going to do that. But before we go to the next section, I wanted to show you that down here, program specificity, this is general. You can click on detailed, and it actually gets into the detail of those two majors. So you can specialize. There's one large one that's standing out, and we are in the state of Texas here, petroleum engineering. That's probably not a surprise for Texas, but look at the wages, 10 years out, $264,813. So, if Chloe knows she wants engineering, she may want to, if she has interest in this, maybe look at petroleum engineering. But this lets her look at all of the other areas, civil engineering, architectural. So it starts to tell her a picture of what wages she might be able to get right upon graduation from college, and then what she might get further out. One of the other things you can see here too, you can look at it by degree program. So if you wanted to change it to a master's, you can look at that. It kind of adjusts. It doesn't give you that detail, but it gives you the overall blocks for masters. Chloe's pretty much interested in the baccalaureate degree, so I'm going to leave it at that. So now we're going to go up. So she's decided, you know what, I think I'm going to stick with engineering. So we're going to unclick biological and medical, and we're going to explore engineering a little bit further. If you go to the top here where it says data type, you can click on flows. And this is really cool. What it's showing you is that in Texas, so students who are leaving the University of Texas at Austin with engineering degrees, it's showing you what industries they go in. I like to go down here, instead of count, right now it gives you the count. I like to put the percent share. It just gives you an easier way to look at it, I think. So you can see here that of the individuals who leave the University of Texas at Austin with engineering degree, 25% of them go into manufacturing, and 30% go into professional, technical, and scientific. So, manufacturing is in that top percentile for where graduates go with that type of degree. She can then go down and look, there's other areas she might want to look at, but she was really looking at manufacturing. That looks like something that she would be interested in. So that gives her the information there. One of the last things that she's thinking once she graduates, she might want to know, where do people go? And you can click on Geo over here to the left. And this brings up a great multi-flow. So it shows you of engineering, 25% went into manufacturing. And of that, 74% of those graduates stayed in Texas. So either they lived in Texas to start, or they really liked Texas because they pretty much stayed there, or they were all working in the petroleum industry making big money. So that's where they decided to stay. But you can look and see, they also went over to the Pacific area, mountain area, South Atlantic. So it kind of starts giving you an idea of not only what industries individuals graduating go into, but it lets you know kind of where they go geographically after they graduate. So there's many other things this tool will do, but we have 4 tools to demo. So I am going to stop with this tool and go back to our presentation and go to the next slide. So Chloe, before she makes her total decision, she's wondering, what are my opportunities if I decide to go into the Army? Well, we have a tool for that, and it's called Veterans Employment Outcomes Explorer. So this tool is going to let Chloe look at earnings and employment outcomes for U.S. Army veterans who completed active duty service. And it's going to let her look at that by outcomes 1, 5, and 10 years post-discharge. And it'll let her look at it by military occupation. So the cool thing about this tool is that if you're coming out of the service and you have a certain occupation, you can put that occupation in and kind of see where people have gone, what the wages have been. It lets you look at states. So it also lets you analyze that by rank, what rank you are discharged at, demographics, industry, and geography. Chloe's interested in what military job might transfer into manufacturing. So that's something else that we'll be able to look at in this tool. One of the, this chart here just shows that there was an electronics equipment repairer that went to manufacturing, and it shows those wages. This is the 25th percent, 50th percent, and 70th percentile of the folks being discharged 1 year post-discharge. So let's just go into the tool and take a look at that. So I'm going back to the tool. And here we are back at the LEHD landing. And I'm going over to the left, and I will click on VEO Explorer. So like PSEO, it kind of pulls up a default. So you'll see there's something in here, all occupations in infantry general. So it's giving you some information, but we are going to drop this down. To get rid of those, you have to clear it. So you want to clear it. It has those two areas, all occupations and infantry. We're going to clear that section. So now it doesn't have anything in it. And we're going to drop the arrow again, and we're going to go down. Now there's many here. I'm going to just grab this combat engineering since she was interested in engineering. I'm going to put that in. I will close the little box so we can see the chart. So here's the chart that she's looking at. So individuals coming out of the military, of the Army, this is with just Army information. These are the earnings that they can expect from the different percentiles. So Chloe, where she took a lot of STEM classes, she may be up in the 75th percentile, but you can see at 1 year post-discharge, her earnings are going to be 42,740, quite a bit lower if she just goes straight into the military. She could also look at 10-year post-discharge, goes up to 70,000. Just gives her an idea of another option that she could look at. I also want to go into the industry. You can see at the top here, you could actually look by years of service, demographic. This is where you can look at males versus females coming out, but we're going to just take a quick peek at the industry. Again, it puts a default 4 industries in there. We need to clear them. And we are going to choose manufacturing. Close that out. So here it's telling Chloe that individuals at discharge, leaving the Army 1 year post-discharge, these are the wages that they're going to be making if they go into manufacturing. So again, you can look at the 10 years, it goes up to 71,000. It's just another piece of knowledge, data, information for her as she makes her decision on what she's going to do. So I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to turn it over to Erlene, who is going to take us through a couple of other data tools.
Okay, so here we can see that Chloe is thinking ahead and wondering which state would be the most profitable in manufacturing with her bachelor's degree. You can see in this screenshot that the darker shaded states are the most lucrative for women. The top 3 states are Massachusetts, Maryland, and New Jersey, with Massachusetts earning almost $7,000 a month. QWI Explorer has 32 indicators that looks at worker count, earnings, hires, separations, and more through a series of maps, line charts, and bar charts, and extensive tables, all which are interactive. And the data is timely. It's easy to look at workers by demographic and geography and make comparisons by geography, years, race, education, sex, and more. And reports can be exported into a PDF, Excel, or CSV. According to this screenshot, we can see that in Massachusetts, in the Boston metropolitan area, workers with a bachelor's degree can earn up to $12,630 a month. So let's go live to look at this example. Again, from the LEHD landing page, on the left-hand side, we're going to go ahead and click on QWI Explorer. Once I click that, automatically, since I've been looking at it, Massachusetts come up, and then we can see that the indicators are the employment count. So before we start working Chloe's example, I just wanted to point out a few things. So here we can look at the top workers right now. So this has the most count, which is the 25 to 34. And this is Massachusetts in all industries. And then the next one would be 45 to 54, followed by 35 to 44, and then 55 to 64. And then you can see that there's a huge gap between the older workers, which is 65 to 99, and then the younger workers, which starts with 22 to 24, 19 to 21, and 14 to 18. You can also look at the fact that this number starts at 2019. So we can look at pre-COVID, then during COVID, then post-COVID. So then after, you can see a little bit of a dip at the top, though all of the younger workers kind of stayed steady. But then it just kind of stays steady and then does a little bit of a lift in 2023 Q1. And this is just for Massachusetts. And I'll just do a quick look at United States so we can see that. And then it's very similar to how things were in Massachusetts as well. Okay, back to Chloe. So I'll click on Massachusetts, and then we're going to change it to Earn S. So this is the average monthly earnings. And then in the industries, I'm going to change it to manufacturing. Okay, so again, looking at this, everything is so uneasy. It has peaks, it has lulls, and so forth. Same age groups again, but then now we have 65 to 99 in the mix. So I'm going to change the x-axis, and I'm actually going to change it to the metro micropolitan areas. And then I'll get a settings conflict, but I'll just click continue through that. And then I want to look at the bar charts instead. And instead of looking at all of Massachusetts, I just want to look at the Boston area. So I'm going to check none. And then it automatically puts in Massachusetts. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Boston. And just for a quick visual, you can see compared to Massachusetts and compared to Boston, overall, Boston is still the higher earning areas from Massachusetts. So I'll take that out. And then instead of group for the age, we're going to look at the education because we're interested in those earning a bachelor's degree. So similar to the screenshot, we can see that those that earn a bachelor's degree in Massachusetts in manufacturing earn about 12,630. But if I go over here to worker characteristics on the left-hand side, I'll click on that, and then I want to look at female. So then when we look at females with the bachelor's degree, we can see that it's 10,792 is the earning. So it dropped from 12,000. But then if I go to female and unclick female and click on male, then we can see that the gap has gotten even bigger, and it's almost like $2,700 difference. Okay. So back to the PowerPoint. we're going to look at the job to job flows. So in this screenshot, we can see that the top states that are hiring women into manufacturing are Texas, California, and Ohio. And once again, let's go live to look at this. So clicking on the LEHD main page again, I'm going to go ahead and go to J2J Explorer. And one thing about all of our data tools, it's that it's very intuitive. So under start here, under number 1, I'm going to keep hires to at that. So we have two options. There's hires to or separations from. So it's either those going into the job or those leaving the job. And instead of DC, we're going to look at the national numbers. And then we're going to look at manufacturing again. Now, once I click that on the start here under number 1, I have options in number 2. So I can either look at which states, which metro area, or which industries. And then you can also look at analysis of hires over time. And then if you don't really know what you want to look at, there's some recommendations. So for example, where did information workers with the highest earnings for job flows into Seattle come from? So once you click on that, you can actually decide what geography you'd like to look at. It doesn't have to be Seattle. So I'm going to go ahead and click on which states. And once I do that, you can see California is the number 1. And if I hover over the state, you can see 42,681 workers go into manufacturing in California. However, we want to look at female. So I'm going to change the sex to female. And I'm going to set that filter. And then now if I hover over that, the number drops to 14,240. And then we can look at Texas, which is 13,303. And then the next darker shade of state is Ohio, followed by Illinois. So the red areas are, those are aggregate of sales. So this is the data that's still being loaded. So we can't have any information from that. And then of course, the gray areas are the states that are not currently participating. So once I do that, I'm going to click on the links under the origin state, and I'm going to select none. And then I'm just going to click on California and Ohio, and then Texas. And we can save changes. So here, I'm going to use this bipartite chart. It's one of my favorite visuals, so I'll click on that. And it automatically comes up the years, and I'm not really in the quarters, and I'm not really interested in that. I want to see where these workers are coming from that are going into manufacturing in these 3 states. So I'm going to click on origin NAICS sector. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on percentage because, again, looking at the percentage versus the numbers is so much easier. And I'll click out of that. And then if I hover over the state, you can see that the top industries that are feeding from manufacturing. So those that are going into manufacturing are coming from other manufacturing jobs, as well as the administrative and support. So we can see that there's like 26.4% coming from administrative and support. If I look at Ohio, the same thing is the same, but this time there's only maybe a % difference between manufacturing and administrative and support. And then if I go to Texas, which is where Chloe hopefully gets her degree from, we can see that 15% of those workers that were in manufacturing, that were female, went back into manufacturing, while those that are female in the administrative and support, there was 24.4% of those going into manufacturing. All right, so going back to the PowerPoint, we're going to just kind of tie things together, and we're going to go back and look at our high schooler. By looking at PSEO, she was able to choose a major from the University of Texas, Austin. 10 years after graduating with a degree in engineering, she could possibly earn $127,073. But considering how much her degree would cost, it is worth to go into the military. We found from VEO she could earn possibly about 39,610 to about 70,000 1 year after she got out of the military. Then we looked at QWI for after college to see the higher earning states in manufacturing for a woman with a bachelor's degree would be Massachusetts, specifically in Boston, earning about 10K a month. And finally, using the J to J, we were able to see that Texas, California, and Ohio were the top states hiring women into manufacturing. So if you need to get in touch with either myself or Nicole, here's our contact information along with our Ask Data email and phone number. And if you enjoyed this webinar, be sure to subscribe by using the QR code here to go into the census.gov Academy. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and we are ready for questions. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it on this screen just for your convenience.
Thank you, Erlene. Nicole and Erlene, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Everybody learned an awful lot, and there's a lot of activity in our Q&A section. One question we have has to do with geography. Can you give us a little more information about what geography data on employment wages and some of these projections are available at?
I'll answer that. So it depends on which data tool that you use. So if you're using the QWI, we look at national numbers as well as state. And then we go down to the county, the metropolitan and micropolitan areas, and then down to the county. And there's also the WIAs, the workforce boards, where you can look at that information as well. But if you look at on the map, it actually goes all the way down to census tracts and census blocks.
Thank you. Another question we have is about QWI. Does it make any adjustments for cost of living?
We do not.
And one question that just came in is that given the push to focus on professional certifications versus going direct to a university, does the census keep track of educational success for adult schools or adult students?
So we do have information regarding 1 year and 2 year certifications versus a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate. We also have a couple that are 2 years, so you can get an associate's degree. So you can look at all of those different degree and certificate programs. It just depends on what school that you are looking at.
Great info, thank you. And then a follow-up of the cost of living question is what tools do we have, or what is a good tool, a good census tool to use to get cost of living information from different states?
I'm not really sure about that one. All I can say is regarding the earnings for our data, it comes from the state. So we're getting their quarterly census employment wage records, and along with their unemployment insurance wages, but that's where the earnings come from. And so we're not able to use the cost of living factor there, but I don't know, does anyone else on the panel know of a cost of living data tool that we might have?
I don't. I know, yeah.
No, I don't know of another one.
So if you send a question to the census.askdata@census.gov, someone will try to find a subject matter expert for that for you.
Question that just came in is, can we break any of these data down by individuals with disabilities and those without disabilities?
Unfortunately, we do not have disability, but the American Community Survey does have that information.
All we have so far. Unless anything else comes in, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Arlene. So thank you very much, Arlene and Nicole. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank you all for your great presentation. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in today's webinar. We thank you, our audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. We are very interested in hearing from you on how we are doing. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation that will appear when you exit the webinar. Look out for the recording, presentation, and related materials from this webinar on the Census Academy by visiting census.gov/academy within 30 business days. Please check out the Census Academy for additional trainings, resources, and to register for upcoming webinars. That brings us to a close. We thank you again for joining us today and hope you have a great afternoon.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.